Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 8 of Kokai, our modded CS2 build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We're going to kick off today's episode with a little bit of a road time lapse. We need to build a major interchange to allow access into this Midtown a little bit easier. So, I will catch you on the other side of that. So this is what we end up with, and it's pretty much an exact recreation of the interchange in Oceanside. And there's this weird little frontage road that comes off one of the ramps that I imagine will feed into a different part here. It runs all up and down the river in Oceanside. Really happy with it. It's going to give us a lot more accessibility into the downtown here as well as we continue to build this area out. And as we continue to build it over here, we had a great comment last episode about perhaps including Metro instead, which is definitely something I want to explore. So let's come into our public transport. Now, of course, we're not going to place a subway yard today because it's just going to be an enormous expense, which we don't really need. So we mentioned, I think I'm going to put this, where was it? I can't see with the white view on. Over here, I think, isn't it? So I think we're going to put our metro yard over here one day. Of course, when we actually need it. But what we will do is place it temporarily, and then we can just immediately get rid of it again. It's only 200,000, but what it will do is unlock all the metro stuff for us. So I think we'll place one of the stations today. Obviously, just for kind of building up one of the transport hubs, but it's not going to be flowing for a little while yet, but at least we can prep that infrastructure. So we left last episode off building up this area here, and I definitely want to carry on the crawl down the coastline today. In terms of how this area will develop, I think I'd like to keep this kind of central plaza here, which is what will become a transport hub one day. I would actually just like to test what it would be like having a small elevated subway here. Of course, we'll want Anarchy on for this. But if it was to just reside pretty much centrally, how do we feel about that? How much is this going to cost us? 10,000 a month if we turn it off. Okay, it goes to 10% of its upkeep then, doesn't it? 1,000 a month, we should, I mean, especially with the residential we're going to bring in today, we'll be able to keep that. So I'm going to turn this off. I would suggest if you're tight on money, probably don't place this just yet. But otherwise, I think we should be okay. So let's do our little road here. We have a roundabout here. Everyone's okay. So all this area underneath the metro station is super expandable with textures and whatnot, as we're getting used to in CS2 these days. So I'm happy with that, and that's going to be a real nice centerpiece for the waterfront, isn't it? This will obviously be, well, I think it'll be the end of the metro line anyway. Maybe we'll take it further afield. A line tethered into the end of it. Either way, we'll worry about that later on. So this will be our central transit center, okay? So then all the blocks around this, I want to have buildings. So I want to keep this big, with the metro station in, I want to reserve this big kind of central square for just green belt and parks, essentially. So let's go ahead and throw in some of our new large parks. So I'd like to use some of these little tiny city parks, I think. Why don't we do a little quadruplet of these? I'm happy with that. And then maybe a little pathway straight down the middle. And that should extend out those textures. It does indeed, which is very helpful, even though they're two different textures there, aren't they? God, that's annoying. It's fine. We can always just replace them to get it back in. But that should make this area nice and walkable. And then I think with the front park there, I reckon... Not sure how much room we have to play, really, with the land around it, because we are right up against the shoreline here. Although this asset does come with paths on it, doesn't it? So let's give this little park here, let's box it all in. And then we'll turn on cell length here as well. Let's do 16 meters out to the side, and then bring that down. And then I reckon just with some simple road upgrades, we can actually turn this park into something really unique. Let's give the key upgrade to every segment on the outside. And then with a little bit of terraforming, I reckon this is going to look pretty fabulous, actually. We'll push all that back in, of course, to expose the key to the wall, and then maybe even push it up a little bit here and just change the shape of the coastline a little bit. Because I think this has got so much coastline to play on this map. We're going to have to keep a lot of fresh ideas, I think, otherwise it's just going to be endless beaches. I'm always happy doing beach builds. They're always a lot of fun, but eventually it might go a little bit stale. So we should probably see what we can do with stuff like this to keep the coastlines interesting, which I'm definitely happy with. And just as a little general proof of concept, I think maybe even some palm trees around here would be welcome as well, actually. I'm not sure what my favourite palm is, though. I think we'll go for these cute little Sylvester palms. Why not? Maybe some of those coconut boys, too. And I think that's pretty snazzy, isn't it? I actually really like that. I do. It has to be said. Don't hate that at all. Going to serve as a nice little kind of almost outdoor concert venue right on the front of the water there, is it? And perfectly aligned with that big central transit square as well. I'm a fan of that. That's very cool indeed. So in terms of the crawl to medium density, I don't want this area to be super high-risey. We'll continue to use low rent housing, where I also might turn this one here into a super node as well on the highway. Wondering what junction is going to be best here for this. Yeah, we might super node this. We'll come back to that in a second. But in terms of medium density away from our obvious RCIs, which at the minute is kind of row housing and high density demands, I'd like to include some services down here. And I think the first one's going to be another urban high school. So let's do this one. How about, let's see. Let's just have this in the first block there. It's going to be a great waterfront asset, isn't it? I really like these high schools here. Don't mind that at all. And that should finally put us in the green for bloody high school education. And then maybe with another elementary school. Now, these ones are a little bit of chungus, aren't they? They are very, very chunky. However, what I do appreciate is getting little alleyways like this between buildings. I think that makes quite a big difference, doesn't it? Now, I definitely don't just want this one here. So we've got 2 deep spaces to play with, essentially. So let's open FindIt. Come into our buildings, and then we just want a lot width of no more than 2. And I reckon some mixed use is going to be quite appropriate here, isn't it? And I pretty much just want European buildings. I'm not a massive lover of the American stuff. And then let's just search for something on the left. Yeah, something like that, I think. And then just want to align that up with the edge of the score using MoveIt. Would be a pretty simple alignment there. Yeah, that's a nice handy one. And then repeat that same process over here on the other side. Looks like this time we just want something on the right. So let's just find something we're a fan of. Something a little taller might be quite nice. Let's do... That one's not too bad, is it? Well, we are getting a little bit of clip in there, I think. But I'll tell you what we could do. Actually push that back forward. And then this should just create a little bit of an indentation on that front waterfront there. I mentioned it before, how much of a difference buildings kind of rising and falling back from the pavement makes a big difference in kind of just generally building up a bit of medium density. Yeah. So I think we can get away with that there. I think I'm going to be pretty happy with that. Then the rest of the blocks around it, we'll get some apartments in and whatnot, of course, and all this space out here can just be detailable, of course, with the textures that already exist. I think I've mentioned this before, you know. Initially when CS2 came out and we had all these buildings that we placed down, such as the elementary school was a prime example here, the vanilla one. I was a bit disappointed, you know, I was like, I want to do all this detailing, but what it does do is when you place it down, it gives you kind of a palette to go and expand around it, doesn't it? Like we have done with our elementary schools numerous times. So I'm actually quite a fan that all the service assets come quite heavily decorated, because it really allows you to, I think, authentically expand them a little bit more, doesn't it? Cool, so I'm really loving that quarter medium density on the waterfront there. We'll definitely get some more plopped, but we've got quite a big empty space here to talk about as well. Which I think we're going to keep with row housing, but I'd like to possibly change their roofs and their orientation. So I want them facing out toward the water here. So let's go ahead and find ourselves some row housing. I guess you could zone this if you want, but the thing I want to do something with Recolour. And then really the depth has to be, I guess, 4 for here, right? We're going to go back to back. So let's put in a little mixed collection of these row homes. Try to get a nice mix and variation in there. Then really, I'd like to try and change, let's say if we click on this one, for example. I just want to make them a little more red and colourful, I suppose, is what I'm trying to do here. I think if we copy this colour and then paste it into here, and then just either slightly darken or improve the shade. Maybe even let's kind of whitewash out some of the brick as well. Just so we get a slight different variation here. We really want to kind of move away from the greys. Obviously, we'll spend a lot more time in our time-lapse doing this, but just as a general proof of concept, try to change up some of the colours, and then maybe on the roof, let's kind of go for a more sort of orangey colour, I suppose. And then hopefully, over the course of just practicing that, that should give us some improved row housing. I don't think it's too horrendous looking, is it? So it should be a lot more interesting than just the regular greys. So that's generally my idea with the row housing. And we'll have a couple of blocks of this. So let's say we'll see how long are we actually working with here. Got 280 meters. So let's do blocks of 80 here then, I reckon. We'll probably use the alleyway road to separate them. So let's do one there, and then we'll go another 80-ish meters. Have another one there. And then we'll actually just extend that final block there. Go with that one. And then obviously we want to make sure that these lights on the road do not exist, because we should just have everyone flowing through. So we finally have a little bit more commercial demand back in Kokai as well. So I think we'll use that as an opportunity to sling together a little bit more mixed use. So I think let's go for 4x4 assets here. And then we'll just mix and match in our corners. So of course you can feel free to zone this, but I'm after a much more customized space, I think, here, why I'm on such what will be a very important waterfront at some point. So I really want especially my corner buildings to be custom. Really love what we get down here. Then let's find something, that was a left piece, wasn't it? So let's find, that was a right piece, so maybe it looks like it's left counterpart there, does it? It is indeed, but yes, we could throw these into a giant block, couldn't we? And then if we were to save, say hypothetically, a little 4x4 unit there, are we bothered about this one? No, I guess we can move that over. Let's save it over to See, what's that distance there? 80 meters. Let's do it again over here then. Snap into our grid, just so we know where to go. And then we'll draw that one down. Bring that back up. We'll have a look at this supernode in a second as well. And then really, just want to pick those left and right pieces back out again. So we have something that resembles kind of a larger singular building that's been divided up. Don't hate it, there's lots of different angles and bulks there, isn't there? Find some more. That has used up a little bit of our mixed use, so I think instead of doing mixed use all the way along, we will actually bounce back and forth between our apartments. That should move our filters here too. So I'd love to do some fusing here with the various assets that we have. Let's place down a selection. Let's do that one's a little bit wide maybe. Let's go for that one toward the end there as well. And then let's bring them over so we're making that consistent waterfront there. And then maybe we can have, again, we'll try, I guess, respect the window where we can. And that leaves us essentially one block there, doesn't it? There is, I know there's a signature building, isn't there? That's an apartment that is basically one block, or is it a row house actually? Constellation Apartments, that's the one I'm thinking of. It is just a tile wide. And if we can bring that up next door, don't hate it. That fills out another bit of a block, doesn't it? I really want to get no taller than this really as the waterfront develops here, so we'll have row housing up to the service buildings here, and then kind of more bulk, and then we can begin to descend down. I don't think this area is going to run all the way. But also be interested if you guys would like to see a cruise terminal over here. I don't know if that infrastructure is maybe a little big. For the area of Oceanside, there's actually a massive naval base in the city, so we could kind of base it off of that. Include a way for ferries to dock here, or we save that kind of mega transport infrastructure for our CBD over here in the future. I'm not sure. Let me know if you think that Triton should get a ferry dock. Might be nicer time with the metro, I guess. Is anyone getting off on the trams yet? Not quite. We will design some tram stops in our detailing today. Oh yeah, there's a few people here. There's a few. They are getting off, it would seem. Guess they're probably moving into the new area, aren't they? We'll probably get a big rush of traffic with those new buildings just placed in. Oh, we out of water too? We are indeed, and very nearly out of sewage as well. Sewage is probably something we need to look at next episode. We definitely need to do some industry again as well soon. I don't want our production chains to become too unbalanced here, and they are starting to be that. Rock is definitely on its way up. Although, speaking of, we could use a very old trick we saw $2.20 used quite a while ago. Is to use the stone mining building as a kind of repurposed construction site, if you will. I think that might be pretty cool. Maybe we could get that in. Not sure if down here might be a little bit. Let's just have a look at how this asset sits. I think maybe we could get away with a bit of a construction site, could we? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Either way, let's do that supernode, and we'll do this together because I know not everyone really knows about this. So let's bring out our roads, and we want to create cross, really, where we want the node to lie. So let's say, let's just do large roundabout. I think let's just do very large, yeah. Now let's do our very large roundabout there. Go back and grab our 2-lane highways on the 1 meter parallel. And let's just bring you guys straight in like that. Then we can delete this section. And then we can bring this in to run into it like that. I don't actually mind the roundabout there. It's not horrific. But either way, we can delete the roundabout there, and then that'll give us some turning lanes. And I guess we could also further customize that with a little bit of road upgrade as well, if we wanted to. Let's turn back on our snap in and maybe just give dedicated turn off for that. And I suppose we could do something broadly similar over here as well. And let's maybe switch this one to highway road as well. We'll do asymmetry here for the turning. It's likely we'll need a traffic light here as well, so let's put those on. There will be a big rush, of course, while we've just placed down those things. Let's also not forget water as well. Wouldn't mind a water tower around here, actually. Maybe sort of by the highway. Might be quite a nice drive-by. I should make everyone happy. There we go. Actually, does the water pumping treatment station have any upgrades? It does. We can do the extra pump I don't know, maybe we'll save that. I kind of like the water tower by the highway aesthetic there. Here's all our new residents moving into Kokai. Welcome in, people. Or hello, people, I suppose. There we go. We now have this very cool little drive by there. Cool. So that will filter in and out. It seems to be supporting itself here. I'm pretty sure, yeah, we do here. The Corundum condos, a modern classic that puts a smile on the face of its inhabitants. I bet it does. I bet it does. This is a real nice asset. Wouldn't mind. It has like a really landscaped garden on it, doesn't it? Let's just place it there for right now. I think ideally we want the building facing the water, don't we? And then maybe over here where our hierarchy collapses a little bit, we can just move it out the way. And then maybe from this one, can we fuse into a single node there? Yeah, we can actually. We only lose a tile, so we can still accommodate that. And that's going to be another great kind of condominium up against the waterfront, isn't it? Really want to make sure we respect this waterfront today. And in terms of what's going to happen here, I think we'll just do it mostly sand. I'm almost quite inspired to do a bit of a Gold Coast bit here, where we have some, there's like a tree line against the road and then the beach is on the other side of that, I think is what we'll go for. But people shouldn't really be swimming here because there's 15,000 people's feces are being dumped into this spot. So there's probably a sign we need to look at some more industrial infrastructure in the coming episodes, I think, isn't it? We'll definitely keep this pathway going down here as well. Let's not forget about this. Likely we'll turn it into an invisible path of some sorts once it comes onto the sand. But either way, I think that feels like a good place for a detailing time-lapse. I'm going to get the rest of these row houses in here. Then lots of detail around this rail line again. Of course, jumping back into Google Earth for inspiration around Oceanside for what sits up against this rail. There's a lot of car parking up and against it. We'll definitely get that vibe around our metro station as well. Maybe see if we can get rid of this pillar as well. Hopefully we'll be able to delete that. I think maybe once we get the metro line in, but that won't be for quite a while yet because the city's economy won't support that metro yard. How much is it actually? It'd be expensive, won't it? Oh, 24k a month. It's actually not too bad. The graveyard's like 21, isn't it? I think so. 27, even more expensive, really. How is a cemetery more upkeep than a metro station or a metro yard? Surely that's the other way around. How are we doing for medical actually? So before we do a detailing time lapse, services seem to be okay here. Fire hazard is all right, but you know, fires aren't really a threat in CS2, are they? We do need a prison. We do need a prison. Maybe an urban police station along here might also be welcome. But the nearest death care for you guys, I'm surprised we don't need more death care yet, actually. Veering on the edge of needing it, I suppose. The average patient health is only 59%. That isn't great, is it? Only less than 60% of the population is healthy. But these guys seem to be doing alright, and of course there's upgrades for these as well, should we ever need the capacity. So I think we'll be alright for death care to shut over this side of the city. Hearses seem to be able to make it over there without any trouble, so we'll run with that until they can't. But either way, let's detail up our medium density expansion today, and then we'll be right back. little look around Triton Midtown, shall we? Yeah, this area's turned out really nice, so our continual crawl up to the medium density continues, of course, with some row housing, which I'm really appreciating in CS2 these days. A little bit of it is still growing up here as well. There is a mix of zoning and plopping. You'll see we switched to plopping here, as I wanted, just to make sure we had nice assets. You can also see how we move it, because this isn't a perfectly straight road, so just to align the buildings together as they join on the corner is quite a nice aesthetic, I think. So the row housing continues all the way up here as well. And then we arrive at the high school. That has had the back of it extended, some parking included as well, alongside another one of those roads underneath the skywalks as always. Can't help myself. It's just, it calls out for it, doesn't it? You know, just to see people actually using that. Yes, boys, very nice indeed. And then that all sits around here. Some decals on the side of this building. I find it very kind of plain without the decals on it. I think it certainly needs it, that elementary school. And then some classic decals along the bottom into the alleyway that heads back to the beach. The beach itself does have an invisible walking pathway on it, which you can see is getting a nice little bit of use. Decals all the way around here where it does join back up with the saggy node point. Now we mentioned in the live stream when we built this little area on the peninsula that this walking pathway would continue pretty much all the way along the coastline here, so definitely want to make sure it's we respect this walkability along the coast. To kind of come back to that initial idea we had during the stream. Then further into the suburb there is just car parking around high rent towers, kind of a bit louder, so kind of find the noisier apartments nearby to the metro, etc. The supernode has just had some quick lane maths done. There's 4 lanes coming in and out, and then you can see how the supernode lanes configure together with multiple slip lanes here around the junction, which flows wonderfully. It's a really nice system. I love the supernoding. It's a really kind of nice way to just create more custom junctions that are pretty vanilla-ish as well. You know, there's maybe a little bit of Anarchy at play here just to get some things to fit, but otherwise this is all totally doable in vanilla as well, the supernode stuff. A little bit of parking and office space by the highway, where there is more parking around here. Some little tram shelters on the tram stops, of course, where you can see people gathering. They're just pergolas, which work out as perfect little custom stations. There's a little bit of commercial tucked in under the metro station as well. Lots of pathways, and as it turns out, lots of homeless in the central parks as well. As we come up to that big stage area, which there is a couple of people, I guess a little bit early for the show. But, you know, it's nice to see people in this big kind of central park where there's essentially schools, but, you know, we can pretend maybe there's something else. Mixed use apartments, there's commercial around here. Use a bit of Recolour on these blocks here just to give it kind of a two-tone vibe. There's another office space here as well, which spills out onto a slightly expanded kind of park marina, just next door to that initial key park we have, which turned out nicely. More custom blocks of commercial around here, and then there is actually some parking roads. The road builder had an update, so you can now add angled parking onto a road, which is just incredible. Like, we used a lot of these roads in Thessia, and now we have them in CS2. On the fly, in whatever configuration you want. Absolutely amazing. Road Builder just continues to get these crazy updates added to it, so certainly expect a lot more parking roads around the city now. That's a great way to use Road Builder, I think. We'll probably do that on the main road, I think, maybe down here. Maybe we can return to, just to kind of hypotheticalize it for a hot minute here. It would be to upgrade this segment here into a tram. And then we can add the parking on the beach side, and then have more access to the beach as people park on the main road with the trams rejoining the arterial after it's kind of cut through the Midtown city centre. Maybe we can cut it back across here. That would be quite cool, I think. And then little condo complex around here just continuing to contribute toward the medium density, and I think it turned out pretty nicely, if you say so myself. There's more car parking over here. By the signature buildings as well. I reckon you can also double up these signature buildings, make quite a bit of a larger condo complex out of them. They are quite nice. I do want to be careful of plopping too many repeated signatures though. I don't really want to kind of destroy the game's simulation, which is quite possible at this stage. So we will be infinitely careful, of course. Otherwise, guys, that will do it for today for the Triton expansion. If you have enjoyed it, likes, comments, and shares below. Always help the channel to grow, and the Patreon Instant Gaming are also down in the description too if you would like to help further support the channel and get a little bit more egg in your life. Massive shout out to the patrons that do support the channel, with a special roll call to Louis Adlam and O'Hare Casino. Thank you, always support legends, really appreciate you all. Otherwise, I think in Kokai we will return to industry next. The industry bar is pretty relentless and those production deficits are starting to get a little bit too high now. So I reckon we'll go to a big industrial build. If you've got any ideas, let me know. I've not really decided what we're doing yet. It will likely be a port, an industrial port with so much coastline here to use. If not, maybe we can do some forestry. Try to do a bit of a vineyard type build, maybe. Otherwise, please do enjoy today's cinematics, but I'll shut up and leave it there. I just thank you all so much once again for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.